Welcome to America. Tell me what you're thinking.
Just so much.
Kleenexes, please.
I've always I've always been interested in history and the history of black people. I took I took Afrocentric classes at U of L. My grandma lived at 2821 West Kentucky Street. I've read so many books, and now I belong to a church that's primarily African American, and I wouldn't be anywhere else.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Alright, now when I saw this video, I couldn't help but laugh a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just like, we gonna call this lady Miss Peggy. Miss Peggy, was she really that emotional about her whiteness, quote unquote? The caption already had me confused. It literally said a lady cries about her whiteness at this slavery exhibit that she had this experience at in some museum somewhere down south. I want to say it was somewhere like Alabama or Mississippi, one of them states. But I'm just like, she cried about her whiteness because of the history with our slaves and our ancestors. She cried about her whiteness because of how it affected her, but we were the ones getting our asses beat. I'm just like, I don't even know what to believe anymore. Do y'all really believe her? That she's that emotional about her whiteness? And it could be. I'm not saying she's not. I'm just like, wow. White folks is different. I've never heard of anybody, again, cry about their whiteness because of the history with the ancestors and the slaves and stuff. I'm like this. I have mixed reviews on this. And the only reason I say I have mixed reviews on this is because I don't know what to believe anymore. I feel like maybe some people do it for attention. I don't know. And whoever's idea that was to make that slavery exhibit, shame on you. Because I feel like the brother in the video, first of all, why are you putting shackles on white folks to give them the slavery experience? That's my question. And second, who thought this was a bright idea to do this inside of a museum? Now, I understand other cultures want to learn about our ancestors and how they fought for freedom, as slaves. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's appropriate to put shackles on somebody of another color that had no type of experience close to what we did, what our ancestors did. And I'm just like, there are some things you should do, and there are some things you shouldn't do. And this video went hella viral, by the way. Oh, yes, there are a lot of people talking about this video. And I'm just like, y'all will never understand how my people fought for freedom. Y'all will never understand it. And as a black woman in 2025, we are still fighting for freedom, but in a different way. Now I call it modern day slavery. We're not in shackles, no. But due to the circumstances of certain things like our jobs, for example, it feels like we're in shackles. Oh, yes. Depending on what position we're in, if we're the peon and we're at the bottom of the totem pole, yeah, I would say it's modern day slavery, of course. Yeah, absolutely. We get paid pennies, based on our backgrounds and based on our education level, our skills level. To be fair, they say that's what makes it equal, because if one person has a higher skill than the other, then they get the higher pay. Okay, that's fair. But if they both have the same amount of education and the same amount of skills and experience for that job, then they should have the same pay. But it doesn't work that way. No, not here. Oh no, it don't work that way here. But I'm still stuck on Miss Peggy crying about her whiteness. Why, first of all, why are you crying? And the way she said that she grew up on Kentucky Street or some shit, I forgot where she grew up at, and how she went to an African American church and got saved by Jesus Christ and understands how we endured slavery. I'm sorry, I can't take this seriously. Maybe y'all could fill me in on why she has so much remorse as a white woman. I don't understand. Now, I have white people in my family, okay? Don't get it twisted. I have nothing wrong, nothing against them, nothing. But in this particular situation, I feel like when white people be crying and they be super emotional about shit like this, it makes me wonder, if you knew it was wrong back in the day, why didn't you say anything back then? And you were in the heart of slavery. Well, she wasn't in the slave era, but she was in like the civil rights era, in the 60s era. You know, you could tell she's a baby boomer. She's much older. I would say, judging from her skin and her look, she's probably in her late 60s, maybe early 70s. But back then she knew better. She knew right from wrong. And it's just like, I can understand if she was a child, she didn't understand racism and slavery and how our ancestors endured, you know, freedom and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I believe that it's taught in the home. Now, I can understand that she had no control over it. Maybe her parents, you know, came from a racist home. Maybe that's why she's very emotional. Maybe that's why she made the comment of going to an African American church. I don't know. But all I know is this. Why are you crying about your whiteness? Why? I'm just stuck on that. It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason to cry now. You know, it's part of our history. We get it. You know, it was a terrible time that people are trying to brush off like it was nothing, or they're trying to bury in the history books because, you know, they taught slavery in the schoolhouses when I was a kid back in the, you know, the 90s and the late 2000s. And then after I graduated in the 2000s, they took out slavery from the schoolhouses. Now, I can understand that it's a sensitive topic for most people to talk about, and I can kind of get why they took it out the schools. But at the end of the day, it's part of our history. And I'm just like, as many years as y'all been learning about our ancestors and how they fought for freedom, why are you crying now? That's what I want to know. Why are you crying now? I mean, am I wrong for laughing? Because I'm just like, I've never seen anybody of any other color cry about my people, my ancestors, getting their asses beat and shit and fighting for freedom until I seen this video. And it made me think, maybe she feels bad about her people, about how they treated our people. Maybe she felt guilty as a white woman, you know, walking around freely, not understanding how much shit our ancestors really went through. And then as she progressed and, you know, and got older, and she realized how fucked up her people were to my people, maybe that's why she became so emotional about her whiteness. I don't know. But I just think the whole situation is like, what the fuck? I don't know. I have no words for this. I swear, I feel like people that do these type of, you know, in-person experiences with the history and stuff and the shackles, it's a little obsessive, in my opinion. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I feel like there are other ways to teach white folks how it feels to be a slave instead of putting shackles on them. Because they will never know. They will never know until they read about it. Until you do your research, until you look at the videos, until you look at Roots. Hell, you could have made that woman watch Roots. They will never know how it feels to be a slave. Never. And they will never know how our ancestors endured freedom. Because they didn't have to worry about that shit back in the day. But yeah, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments about this. Because, it's just too much going on. This is getting out of hand. This is getting out of hand. It's too much for me. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.